there is ever a time for a movie to be good, now would be the time. X-Men Days of Future Past is directed by Bryan Singer. He directed the first two X-Men movies, X-Men and X2. So with Bryan Singer directing, it's the true return to form for the X-Men franchise. And if not, then this will be the movie that's directed by the guy that made Superman Returns and Jack the Giant Slayer. So which Bryan Singer did we get? We got X-Men and X2 Bryan Singer. Bryan Singer still makes good X-Men movies. So the premise of this movie is Boulevard Trask, who's played by Peter Dinklage, built Sentinels that are made to kill mutants, and in the future they started killing human beings as well. In the future, it's really gritty. The only way to stop this is if Kitty Pryde, played by Ellen Page, sends Wolverine's conscience back to 1973 to his younger body to get Charles Xavier and Magneto together to stop this shitty future from ever happening. Not only is this plot executed well, but the characters are executed as well. First off, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen return as Professor X and Magneto, and it was a bit of fresh air just to see them return as these characters. James McAvoy returns as Charles Xavier. One of the things I liked about First Class is they humanized Xavier. In this movie, they humanized him even more because he's at his lowest low. Michael Fassbender returns as young Magneto. And all the momentum he brought to the character in X-Men First Class, he carries that to X-Men Days of Future Past, and it was awesome. Everyone's gripes about these movies is that Wolverine is always the main character in these movies, and I get it. You want someone else to get a shot. In this movie, I feel that his role that he plays in all the other X-Men movies have been reversed. In the trailers, we hear Xavier tell Wolverine, "You have to do for me what I once did for you." Yeah, you remember that part. Which means Wolverine has to somewhat be a mentor to young Xavier and to a certain degree be a mentor to Magneto. Wolverine has to be the one to bring the two of them back together. I love how they illustrated that. But honestly, I never got the impression that Wolverine was the main character in this particular film. Jennifer Lawrence really surprised me in this film. I knew she was a good actress before, but in this movie she really solidifies that. Silver Linings Playbook, I was like, holy shit, she can act. In The Hunger Games Catching Fire, I was like, she was a lot better in this movie than she was in the first film. And in X-Men Days of Future Past, I'm like, dude, yo, Jennifer Lawrence is a force to be reckoned with. In First Class, she was good, she was pretty decent, but in this film, she really came into her own as Mystique. Peter Dinklage as Trask, he's not really a main character, but he's an important character. And Peter Dinklage made Trask the best character he can be. The other gripe people may have with this film is that there are a lot of characters in this film and they're not used as much. I understand that. Like Bishop, he's in the movie and he's not used as much, but the time that they have with him, he is used well. Halle Berry returns as Storm. She's not used in the film as much in this movie, but that's only because during the making of this film, she was pregnant, so they didn't want to have her doing too much. Ellen Page is back as Kitty Pryde, and she's the one that sends Wolverine back in time. I felt like she was a lot better in this film than she was in X-Men The Last Stand. Quicksilver is in the film, and to me, he stole the show, and he has one of my favorite superpower scenes. Now the pressure is on Joss Whedon to impress us with his Quicksilver. I'm pretty sure him and the people over at Marvel Studios already saw X-Men Days of Future Past, and after seeing that scene, I'm pretty sure the people at Marvel are probably screaming on the phone with Joss Whedon right now saying, look, you got less than a year to make our Quicksilver better than their Quicksilver. Like the other X-Men films, there are a lot of characters in this film, but they don't get used enough. And if you're going to have a lot of characters in this film, but not use them enough, and if you don't have the balls to cut them out the film, then at least make us feel like they weren't shoehorned into the movie. In this movie, I feel like they weren't shoehorned into the movie, and they were used very well. I like the fact that this movie has fan service. There is a whole lot of Easter eggs in this movie. I like when they show the Sentinels, old or future Sentinels, whichever ones you like better. Where they're on the scene, they are really menacing. There wasn't a lot of action in the movie, but the movie itself kept me intrigued because I wanted to see how the characters lived through the situation. And I just like how the mutant powers wasn't the central plot of the story. Overall, it's not a big action spectacular like I thought it would be, but the plot and story is the driving force of the movie. I like the underlying theme of Days of Future Past, which is ultimately about hope. The biggest thing that solidified that Bryan Singer was back was doing the credits when John Ottman's theme from X2 played. I had a nerdgasm. When I heard that song, it was Bryan Singer's way of saying, out of the way, this is my franchise, I'm taking it back. If you're a fan of X-Men, you will love this film. If you're a fan of superhero films, you will love this film. And I'll even go on to say, if you're a fan of time travel movies, you will love this film. X2 was my favorite of the X-Men films, but now it has been dethroned by X-Men Days of Future Past because X-Men Days of Future Past is an A++. Also, stay after the credits. Come on now, y'all know the drill with these Marvel movies. That's it for the day. You like what you see, you want to see more, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my other channel. The links are in the description below. And be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. And be sure to check out my website. Peace.